Alright guys, so just done a few different things, as you know. Decided to give this car a bit of a kick to see if it'll start. Put oil in it, put coolant in it, put brake fluid just in it because I was waiting around, bleeding out to do a few different things. Power steering and gearbox has about 3 litres of oil in it. You need to do that cycle through the gears afterwards. I also hooked up the ignition just there so that in theory I should be able to just turn it off from that key, in theory. So I've been cranking it for ages, seeing nothing happening. I have a priming bulb there, I keep priming it and seeing air coming back through into the return line, which is good, getting air out of the system. I have a massive battery hooked up to a smaller battery, and even then, you know, it wants to die and everything like that. But in the last time I went to do it, it went to fire. It didn't fire because I didn't want to keep going because the starter motor, I've been cranking it for a while. I'm getting good oil pressure and everything like that, but it wants to fire, so I'm going to just set down the camera and just to get a recording of it as it first kicks off. Shed is a bit smoky. Happy there now. Wonder if that's still there in the system. That sounded like it was running away, or it was holding that high rev. Alrighty guys, so got the car started, everything like that. Found a couple of leaks. Vacuum pump here was leaking. I obviously didn't change the gasket the first time because I wanted to make sure that the timing was okay on the pump. Funnily, I actually thought it was the sump gasket that was leaking, and I was really scared about that because actually, stupidly, I never changed that when I had the engine out. It turns out, anyway, I was lucky enough, it was the pump gasket. It was actually hidden behind the crank pulley, so it looked like the sump. And another one I found was the shift modulator, or whatever you want to call it. Sorry, that's not focusing. Yeah, the shift modulator there, the O-ring had gone bad. I swapped out the O-ring for a used one. I wasn't too convinced, so I just put a bit of RTV or you know, the sealant, the gasket sealant around further back so that I know that it's after the O-ring, if you know what I mean. What else? So that was one. I had a go at bleeding the rear actuator or actuator valve for the suspension, for the SLS suspension. I bled it from the nipple using a hydraulic bleeder, and I got loads of air coming out of it. I know that means I'm not getting the suspension, but I'm sure that will help the suspension on its way to bleeding very easily. You might remember now, I never actually removed, broke these lines clear or anything like that, so there shouldn't actually really be that much air in the system. So we'll see how that turns out. And what else? It's all kind of running all right. I'm messing around with the dials at the moment. What I have noticed is I could leave that car for a few days, and when I start, I could turn the key and it'll start right up, first tip. And let's say today I did that, and then I actually had to power it down really quick. I turned it right off, maybe 30 seconds into running. I just let the bolt on loose and I could see it rattling, so I just said I'll turn it straight off. Turned it straight off, and then when I went to start it again immediately after, it was running for a bit. It took a few turns basically before it would start. I don't know what the reason is behind that. But like, I know now when I put this down, it'll probably start for first turn. So anyway, I'm going to drop it down onto the wheels now and try and have a look at the ride height. I might turn on the engine just to get the pump going for that rear SLS, see how that goes. What else? I bled the brakes with the vacuum bleeder, the same as I did with the rear of the SLS, so that might not be perfect. It feels pretty good, but I've had touch and go kind of solutions with that, or results with that. That bleeder, you know, it sometimes it'll get a good finish, sometimes it'll just keep pulling air, and it obviously isn't air in the system, it's air within the hoses or something, I don't know. And then I end up having to bring the wife up and get her to help me out. So we'll see now. I'm going to drop this down. I'll start it up, see how the suspension sits, roll it forward, because I want to actually get into working on the dials on it and everything like that. Get them all up and running, pipe through the throttle cable, and go from there. Alright guys, thanks for watching.